So I think like with all this routes like Picasso stuff, right? Like we've come out with all these top 10 routes of the week. Like I think people need to understand how I judge route running is. I think it's confused that guys judge route running solely on how much separation is created, which is a factor in it, but not and they also judge route running based on how well the DB plays and all this, and then also based on the fancy stuff and the flashy stuff. To me, like great route running is like all a receiver can do is run the route that's called against the defense in front of him. So to me, great route running is doing that in the simplest, most efficient way possible, keeping the defender guessing, right? It doesn't mean creating 10 yards of separation. It doesn't mean making him fall over. And it doesn't mean like your route running doesn't become lose value because a DB plays shitty or whatever. Like people are confused with I think what matters. It's again, I have a route called in the huddle. There's the defense in front of me. I need to adjust my plan to execute my job versus what I see in front of me. And the receivers that can do that and use the simplest technique, the most efficient way to make sure that they're open and on time available to the quarterback. Like, that's great route running. It's not all this. If in the process, right, you make him fall over and you have a ton of separation, like sure, having a ton of separation makes that particular throw easier for the quarterback, right? That particular throw. But what makes a quarterback's life easier is consistently getting open and consistently catching the ball when it's thrown to you. DeAndre Hopkins needs 6 inches of separation to consistently catch the ball 10 times a game, right? Other receivers might need 5 yards of separation before a quarterback's comfortable throwing them the ball. It's about executing your job and getting yourself in a position to catch the football on time, right? So like great route running is not making it like sure if you're like Coach Dub has a thing that he challenges his players to that I love. That's like, yo, if you're really that cold of a route runner, when you catch the ball, I want nobody else in the frame, which is fucking awesome. Like yes, but that doesn't mean that every time you catch the ball with someone on your back, it's a bad route. DBs sometimes make good reads or whatever. Like it's executing your job in the simplest, most efficient way possible and using timely techniques to get you open, right? Like attacking leverage at the perfect time, eating space at the perfect time, using your eyes as a weapon at the perfect time, like using these techniques. But like the other day, we posted the top, some of the early previews, early nominees for routes like Picasso, and someone was like, I'm not going to let you post that Muhammad's new stop route like it was a simple route. Like simple and executing is great. It doesn't need to be flashy and fancy. Like Mo ate up space, sold vertical, and converted on a 6-yard hitch route. It's a big third down conversion, 6-yard gain. Stephon Diggs in that same clip ran on defender's toes, dipped his hips for a second, and ran by him. Sure, it was a 40-yard gain, but that doesn't mean like Mo executed the route called to the best of his ability, versed the coverage, and did his job in that moment. Used technique, used 1 or 2 simple, effective techniques to get himself open. The same way Stephon Diggs used 1 or 2 simple, effective techniques to get himself open, right? But because that was a 40-yard gain, we're judging a route running is executing your job, right? It's again executing the route called and making the adjustments and using the perfect techniques to beat the defense in front of you. And I think people are confused by it has to be flashy this, it has to be that. Like sure, when we break down the top 10 routes of the year, they're going to be the flashiest whatever routes. But ultimately the ones that ultimately win, that separate themselves, are going to be the ones that are most fundamentally sound, that are the most efficient. And ones like to me, great route running is one where you use technique to get yourself out of a difficult situation. Like I remember there was the one Cole Beasley route from this year where he was running that in cut and the defender was like 3 yards inside of him. He slowed himself down, really shifted and bubbled all the way around and used his technique to get himself out of a bad situation. He didn't have all these yards of separation. The guy was right there, but he was able to overcome adversity, use his technique to overcome adversity. So I just think all of these things, it's using your technique to get yourself open in the situation in front of you. It's not how many yards of separation you have. It's not like DeAndre Hopkins can run great routes to fit his skill set because he's a monster. Whereas a smaller receiver, or he has to get open more because he's not making these competitive catches. It's like saying that it's like if you compare it to basketball, right? If I'm Kobe Bryant and I only need a step to get my shot off, why would I spend time and work harder to get more than a step? I only need a step. I've proven I can score 40 points a game every single game with only a step. So don't tell me that someone with a better step back than me because he creates more separation than me is a better player. Sure, he does that one thing well, he creates separation or whatever better, but that doesn't mean like I score 40 points a game, he scores 20. It comes down to producing. It comes down to when the ball is thrown to me, Do I make plays? Am I putting myself in a position related to the DB that's favorable enough for me to catch the football consistently? That's all it is. Like, and it's not like, so again, like, the best routes is the technique used at the perfect time, and it all matches together so much that the DB falls over, and you, like, sure, those are probably the best routes, but that's not what great route, doing that consistently is not what makes a great route runner. Again, getting yourself available and on time to the quarterback in a favorable position to catch the football more times than not, 80% of your time or more, in my opinion, is a catch rate. That's great route running. And I think it's hugely confused as far as what we value. We should not be practicing the fancy stuff. The fancy stuff comes after we've learned the simplest, most efficient way to get ourselves open, to be on time and be available for the quarterback. And then once we've mastered that stuff, then you figure out how many different ways you can do it and how to really manipulate the DB with some of those skills. But you know, the simplest way is always the best way. The most efficient way is always the best way. And that's what great route running is. Not the fancy stuff, not creating 20 yards of separation on every route. It's making yourself available for the quarterback and being dependable when he throws you the football time in and time out.